Under the shade of a tall tamarind tree in the seaside village of Kijiji Mawimbi lived a curious 13-year-old girl named Mara. Every dawn, the wind carried scents of cardamom and cloves from the market, and the surf whispered secrets to anyone who paused to listen. Mara loved those whispers. Yet the one voice she often ignored belonged to Mzibako, the village elder whose skin was lined like old driftwood and whose eyes sparkled like moonlight on water. "Slow your feet and sharpen your ears," he would say, tapping his carved walking stick. Wisdom rides the wind, but it only lands on quiet minds. Mara always smiled, nodded, and dashed away to explore before the day's chores could trap her. One brilliant morning, Mara wandered beyond the mangroves to a lonely stretch of beach where palm fronds lay in messy fans across the sand. There she heard a click, click, click. Not the clatter of seashells, but the deliberate tapping of claws. Out from behind a coconut husk scuttled a coconut crab, larger than any she had ever seen. Its shell shimmered sea green, and two clever black eyes gleamed with mischief. "Well, well," the crab crooned in a surprisingly silky voice. "A two-leg with an adventurous heart. I am Coco, collector of treasures and a solver of problems for the right partner." Mara's jaw dropped. "Crabs don't talk. They do when the tide is full and the moon is right," Coco replied. "And when they meet someone who truly listens." Mara glanced around. Only driftwood and sea foam kept them company. "What sort of treasures?" Coco lifted a claw and pointed toward the distant reef where the water flashed turquoise and gold. "Out there lies the pearl of Mwangaza, bright as sunrise. My claws can't swim that far. Your legs can." Mara's eyes sparkled. A legendary pearl. Imagine what the village would say if she brought it home. Perhaps even Mzibako would call her wise. "Let's fetch it," she said. Mara borrowed her uncle's fishing dhow, a sturdy wooden boat painted sky blue, and pushed off with Coco perched on the prow like a self-appointed captain. They sliced through clear water toward the reef. Flying fish leapt like silver arrows. Gulls wheeled overhead, laughing at the spectacle of a girl and a crab on a daring quest. Yet halfway there, a rogue gust caught the sail, spinning them in a dizzy circle. Mara wrestled with the mast, but the dhow refused to obey. Salt spray stung her eyes. Coco clung to a rope, shouting advice no louder than a whisper. At last, they drifted back to shore, exhausted and empty-handed. Coco clicked in frustration. "We need guidance. The wind has a temper." Mara thought of Mzibako's weather-carved face. The elder could read clouds like storybooks and predict tides by the tilt of a pelican's wings. Still, pride pinched her heart. "He'll tell me to stay on land," she muttered. "Or he'll tell you how not to drown," the crab murmured. Mara sighed. "Fine, we'll ask quietly." They found Mzibako seated beneath the ancient baobab in the village square, tapping his stick and humming a tune older than the ocean. Mara shuffled closer, sand squeaking under her feet. "Mzi," she began, "if someone, say a friend, wanted to sail beyond the reef, how would she read the wind?" The elder chuckled. "A friend, you say? First, she must greet the ocean with humility. Then she must anchor her sail to the song of the wind, not its shout. Hoist when it hums from the south and sleep when it snarls from the east." Mara frowned. "But that sounds slow." "Slow is steady, and steady arrives," Mzibako replied, offering her a weathered conch shell. "Hold this to your ear each dawn. When you hear the soft drum roll, The sea is calm. That is your window." Mara nodded, cheeks hot with unspoken plans. Coco, hidden in a woven basket, winked a beady eye. The next morning, Mara pressed the conch to her ear. A gentle dum 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 echoed inside. The sea, it seemed, was in a polite mood. She met Coco at the shoreline, raised the sail only halfway, as Mzi had hinted, and steered by the crab's claw, which pointed to a patch of reef that glimmered like shattered stars. Soon, the dhow bumped against coral shallows. Mara tied a rope around her waist, left Coco as lookout, and splashed into knee-deep water. There, nestled in a shell-curved hollow, glowed the pearl of Mwangaza, larger than a mango pit, releasing light like bottled dawn. But as she reached for it, the reef rumbled. A surge of water nudged her off balance. The pearl rolled deeper into a crack. Mara jabbed her arm in, but could not reach. Back on the boat, Coco whistled. "Use the rope. Lower me. My claws are small and nimble." Mara hesitated. She disliked relinquishing control, but looped the rope around the crab anyway. Coco slipped into the chasm, emerged moments later, clutching the pearl triumphant, then promptly tied the rope into a knot, so complicated even the waves applauded. "Ha! Clever, yes?" Coco grinned. But as Mara hauled him aboard, her eyes fell on the horizon. Thick storm clouds stacked like charcoal cakes, rolling in from the east, the wind's untamed direction. Panic prickled. She tugged the sail too sharply. It snapped. The dhow jerked, tipping them sideways. Coco shrieked, the pearl tumbled, and plop, both crab and treasure vanished beneath roiling water. Hours later, a drenched Mara trudged home, heart heavier than her soaked clothes. She found Mzi waiting outside her mother's kitchen. The elder took one look at her empty hands and tear-tracked face, then nodded. No scolding, no sigh. "Tell me the story," he said. Between hiccups, Mara confessed everything: the talking crab, the majestic pearl, the greedy wind, and her stubborn pride. When she finished, silence rippled like moonlight on still water. "Child," Mzi said softly, "wisdom isn't a jewel you grab. It's a lamp others have tended. You borrow its flame by asking, not by snatching." He beckoned her to the shoreline where the storm now slept. "Sometimes the sea returns what it borrows." Lightning flickered far off, illuminating a shape crawling from the foam. Coco, shell scratched, but triumphant, rolling the glowing pearl with his claws. "I held tight," he puffed. "Even the waves admire my grip." Mara laughed through relieved tears. "Coco, meet Mzi, the wisest in the village." The crab bowed. "An honor, grandfather of two legs." Mzi chuckled. "Wisdom tastes sweeter when shared. Come, let us return the pearl not to pockets, but to the people." That evening, the villagers gathered in a crescent-shaped courtyard, lit by lanterns woven from palm fronds. Children gasped when Mara placed the pearl of Mwangaza atop a carved pedestal. Its light washed over every face like sunrise caught in a bowl. Coco sat proudly beside her, clicking his claws like castanets to amuse the toddlers. Mzi lifted his hands. "May this pearl guide our fishermen at night and remind us that the sea shares its gifts with those who listen." He turned to Mara and added, just loud enough for the crowd to hear, "And may the young carry the old stories farther than our voices ever could." Applause fluttered through the courtyard like festival flags. Mara's cheeks warmed. She bowed her head in quiet thanks, hearing in the elder's words, something brighter than the pearl itself. Coco tugged her sleeve. Adventure complete. Yet, many shells still hide secrets. Shall we? Next time, perhaps, with a weather lesson first? Mara laughed, her heart lighter than ever. She glanced at Mzibako, who stood in lantern glow like a living compass. Yes, she said, but only after we've learned the sea's lullaby from its most trusted singer. High above, the moon laid a silver path across the water. Mara followed its gleam to the elder's gentle smile and felt the wind settle as if nodding approval. In that hush, she understood. Some treasures shine brightest when carried home in an open, listening heart. The end.